Ladies and gentlemen, Stockfish, the best chess computer in the world, has an ELO of 3,700. But right now, as I sit here and record this video, one man, Alireza Firouzja, the Prince of Chess, is performing at a rating of 3,526. Firouzja is currently playing in the Global Chess League. And after 5 rounds, he has 5 points. He has defeated Fabiano Caruana, Hikaru Nakamura, Gukesh, the world champion, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, French number 2, and Viswanathan Anand, multiple-time world champion and absolute legend of the game. 5 for 5. This is a generational run. I will be showing you all of these games in this video. Sit back, relax, enjoy your one-way ticket to Mumbai if you cannot get there from a non-stop flight. Maybe we'll make a stopover in London Heathrow or in Munich or in Istanbul, but regardless, wherever we stop, we need to look at these games. The Global Chess League, this is its 3rd edition in December here of 2025. I'm going to be very honest with you. I have no idea what the format of this event is. They hardly promoted it. I only knew that it started just a couple of days ago. And then I started watching just some of the games and some of the matchups. Let's get into the games. Alireza versus Fabiano. The format is 20 minutes per player, no bonus time, until they make it to 40 moves. And after 40 moves, each player gains 2 seconds per move. That is the time control to prevent any ridiculous scrambles. In this game, Fabiano Caruana against the Open Sicilian Invitation with e4 knight f3 plays g6. This is an accelerated dragon. We have d4, pawn takes, knight takes, bishop g7. And here white has the choice to play c4, which is the Maroczy bind, trying to bind black like a, constrictor snake. Or the traditional main line, which is just to simply develop your queenside knight, develop your bishop, and then here make some sort of a decision which way you're going to castle your king. The most aggressive way for white to play is generally to move the bishop out, to move the queen up, to play the pawn to f3, to support the center, to prepare a kingside advance, and to long castle. Bishop c4 is the move played. We have castles, bishop drops back to b3, d6, f3, bishop d7, queen to d3. Queen to d3 is a unique move. I think it's some sort of modern move. At this point already, the computer just wants to start pushing these pawns, and it wants to go like this. This is obviously a very combative opening. I think in modern days, computers here with white will win a lot of the time compared to with black. But as humans, obviously, everybody makes mistakes. And so queen d3 is played, inviting this move knight to e5. And now queen d2 is brought back. Now, in many ways, this looked a bit stupid because why would you help your opponent play knight here? In other ways, the knight being traded off on e5 will be quite difficult for black to achieve. It will feel very natural to put the knight on the c4 square supported by the rook, but that might not be the best way to go. In some ways, you might have wanted the knight on a5. In other ways, you might have wanted to trade the knight on d4. So Fabi plays very natural rook c8, h4, h5, long castle, and now we have this move knight c4, and we have this trade. So this is clearly the position that Firouzja wanted from the opening, I think. Otherwise, he would not have played queen d3. It will almost always be useful to play the move king b1 in these positions, so every single pawn is defended, and the king is just sort of off the center line, and Firouzja does this quite quickly. And Fabi now plays the move queen c7, preparing several things, but obviously most importantly, the triple up on the c-file. One of the most famous moves in the Sicilian defense, particularly in opposite-side castling Sicilians, is the sacrifice of the rook on the c3 square. And Firouzja should be expecting that to arrive very soon, which is why he drops back. And from the opening, actually, it was Fabi who had a little bit of the advantage in the momentum. Knight to f4, transferring the knight into the attack, bishop c6, and here comes g4. And now the position is just going to explode. At this point, Fabiano already can consider the sacrifice on the c3 knight, which is kind of crazy, but the point is that you would then be opening up the bishop, or white would have to take with a pawn, not, get hit with the bishop with this diagonal over here, and instead have to open up the king. Instead, he plays a waiting move, and very quickly, Alireza smells the danger in the position. Alireza's like a shark. Blood in the water, he's chomping. All right? G takes h5. Fabi plays b4 looking for confrontation. Alireza Firouzja sacrifices the knight on c3 because he's going to be winning this pawn and this pawn and this pawn. The king is going to be stripped naked. B takes c3. Pawn takes f7 check. Now, what does black do? Is he going to take? He takes. Now we have this nasty little move. All of this looks very scary. There are a million pieces pointed in this direction, but they're a few moves away from delivering a meaningful check. This is the problem, and actually, this is a much more meaningful check. So we have e5, rook g1. Hold up. He sacrificed one knight, and now he sacrifices another knight. He wins the bishop on g7, so it's not exactly a sacrifice. The king goes to e6. Queen g6 is a slight mistake, but black only has a minute and a half to figure everything out, and he takes another piece, and that's apparently a losing move. So Alireza sacrificed both knights and the bishop, and he gets queen f5, king f7, rook g6. It looks like there's full defense. There's not. Rook g7 and queen c8. Both of them are hanging. And even though all these pieces are standing around, nobody can attack the white king. The white king chills behind the pawns. Bishop takes e4, rook g7 check, king to e8. He takes the queen. He plays rook g7. He plays queen e6. And now anywhere the king moves, you would take the knight and you would deliver mate in the next move. This was a bludgeoning. I mean, like, after he got knight f4, g4, it was just a matter of time. And within like 3 moves, the entire black's king's position had fallen apart. Just disintegrated. This was just the first game. In the next game, Alireza was playing the world champ. He's playing Gukesh. Now, crazy thing about Team Gukesh. Crazy thing. After 4 rounds of play, I think their team doesn't have a single win. And I don't mean in a match, because this is like a team format, the Global Chess League. I don't think a single player on their team has won a game, unless I misread the headlines. I will double check that after this video is over. They are really struggling. And I know it's kind of a spoiler, but like, you kind of knew that to begin with. Now in this game, Alireza plays bishop g7, c5. We have a totally symmetrical position, knight f3. Alireza goes a6, okay. Rook b8 and prepares a very quick b5, okay. So he, very quickly mobilizes the queen side. This is certainly one way to play. We have takes, takes. And here white should seek an advantage with the move a4. Gukesh plays bishop to e3, plays it quite quickly, and Alireza stabilizes the position as follows. But now Gukesh plays d4. I really like white's position here, but the computer is completely not convinced. Pawn takes, knight takes, and knight f6 is given a double question mark move, which is pretty epic. Well, Gukesh does not play the best move. Actually, what I completely didn't understand here is bishop a7 is just simply trapping this rook. Now, I think Alireza saw this, and if rook b5, there was a fork, and I think he basically was just going to go here. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I think Alireza saw this position and was like, yo, white is going to have some problems on this diagonal. Because then I'm going to play, like, queen d7, queen c6, or queen a8, hitting both of these guys, or, some, castles, and, like, h5, h4. And I think Alireza just kind of bluffed his way into getting away with this. And here he does it again. I mean, the rook can now get away with rook to b5. I don't know if this was a blunder or a stroke of genius. But yeah, rook c1, and now he just proceeds. So the sacrifice wasn't successful. But now he's going to try to hunt that knight. That knight is stranded on the edge of the board. He's also going to try to hunt on the king side. So we have g4, queen h4 snuggling in, ready for the long-term attack. Gukesh plays rook c7, bishop e6, just keeping the tension amongst all the pieces. Rook d1, right? Rook c8, trading the rooks, and Alireza with a nice time advantage, 4 minutes, all right, with no bonus time. So queen d2, and I mean, this is easy. This is child's play for Alireza. Look at this. This is just a pure kingside attack. Same side kingside attack. It's able to work here because you have a queen, you have a knight, you have more pieces pointed in that direction. Pawn takes g4. You really needed to take with the f-pawn, but taking with the f-pawn would have left you with a weak e-pawn. Gukesh does it this way. Bishop h6 takes over on the dark squares. Alireza could not care less about the pawn on the queen side. It was not doing much, and instead he just focuses over here. And at some point, he will break through, either with bishop g4 or knight g4 or queen h2 is coming. Gukesh goes back to e1. We have check here, and he doesn't even have to sacrifice. He just plays knight to d5. Knight e3 is incoming, so you have to go here. Rook c2. Every single piece is surrounding the white position. Queen to g1. He trades the queens. He doesn't need to stress, and he just grabs a pawn back and is like, yo, you are completely lost because my next move is knight to e3. Then we're trading. Then I'm going to win the pawn on b3, and you are not going to be able to move any of your pieces. And that's exactly what happens. I mean, he just completely dominates the white pieces. He's going to win the pawn. It's not even about the pawn. He's just going to straight up win the game. The rook is trapped. If it goes anywhere off the first rank, rook a1 is GG. If it goes to e1, this is GG. So this is falling. G5 falls, d2, you know. And on top of that, white only has 4 seconds here. So he's going to lose on time with the very next move. This was just a masterpiece. This was, you know, he just sought out imbalance from the very beginning. I have no idea if this was a blunder. I mean, something tells me it was not. He played knight f6 in literally 3 seconds. I don't know if this was a mutual oversight or if this was just a pure stroke of madness turned into a stroke of genius, but he's 2-0. Now, sometimes you get lucky and then you feel invincible for the rest of the tournament, right? And then you sort of just like apply pressure to every single person that you play. Dude is playing the number 2 ranked player in the world. And definitely the best player in this tournament in blitz chess. Like, the thing is, in recent times, Firouzja has gotten the better of Hikaru. That is the truth. Whether I am ready to say consistently that Firouzja is the number 2 best player in the world in speed chess, it's close. He's right there. But I think just given the resume, you know, you kind of got to give it to Hikaru. And then he plays, you know, Mr. 5-time world champ. And then, then he played Maxime Shelagrov, you know, former French number 1, former 2800 world blitz champion in his own right. Okay, let's look at this game against Hikaru. Hikaru goes for a Queen's Gambit accepted. Queen's Gambit accepted is a very straightforward position, right? Like you are going for a typical kind of game here where you are ready for the most ambitious way that white can play, which is generally like pawn to e4, and then white can also play some knight f3 business. He goes e4, we have knight f6, this is normal, e5, knight d5. Here, bishop f5, this is all normal. I used to play, I think I did used to play this. I think I used to play knight b6. Also, I think against e4, I used to play knight c6. That was the move that I used to play. But he does it like this, bishop f5, knight c3, knight to b6. And here, Ali Reza thought for a little bit. And by the way, I think the best move here was knight b4. Hikaru played knight b6. Expecting, you know, the bishop to move, and then he would play e6 and develop. I mean, Ali Reza just has such a nasty sense of dynamics. He was like, wait a minute. I'm not going to retreat my bishop. He thought for a minute over the board here and played e6. I mean, just what a move. What a move. He's caught out in the opening. He's a little bit surprised. The point of this move is that you are trying to make black choke on a fishbone. If you take this pawn, it's going to be impossible to develop your dark squared bishop, and you're going to have permanent weaknesses. And if you take the bishop, now I fork you, then I take the pawn with a check, so your king has to move. Then I go here, you go here, and I develop like nothing happened. And your king can't castle, you have a weak pawn, I'm going to castle, move my bishop. This is a pure Firouzja game. Now he's like he's like an avalanche rolling downhill, right? He's just a fire burning. Like it's in the name. H6 from Hikaru trying to defend. We developed the bishop. Hikaru, I think, still is in his preparation. I actually think Hikaru knows all of this because he's playing extremely fast. He hasn't even spent a minute of his time. So it's clear that he is familiar with what he's supposed to do in the position. Plays pure prep, king to g8. Ali Reza just bringing the rooks to the middle. I think Hikaru didn't even... Okay, he did spend a little bit of time there. That wasn't the best move. But, okay, now, you know, the boys are out of prep. 4 minutes down for Firouzja. What's next? He plays rook e3, okay? Trying to double up the rooks and also potentially to support, you know, a rook swing along the third, to the right side, maybe to attack, or maybe to the left side. Now he goes knight e4. He could have also brought the other rook, obviously, but he goes knight e4. Rook d8 from Hikaru. And now this nice move, knight c5. Putting a lot of pressure on black's position. If you just simply take... I take with a pawn, improve my structure. This pawn is no longer isolated. I go this way. My bishop becomes a huge menace. I also, with my pawn, start controlling these pieces. So I'm looking at queen b5, rook b3 ideas. There's some forks, but, you know, general principles apply. And Ali Reza just has a better position. He has a strong advantage here. The opposite colored bishops here benefit white a lot because he has very clear targets. Like, every pawn that's important is on a dark square. This bishop, not as important. Hikaru is still looking to stabilize. He's still looking to get back to equality. He has not equalized here from the opening. It is all Firouzja, and he is hunting down that queen side. There's a lot of pressure here. He missed some chance here. I don't exactly know what. Whatever. I mean, he is a bit better throughout this game, takes, but he is playing, Hikaru, who's going to defend this position like the world is depending on it, right? Queen c3. Rook to d3, Hikaru looking to trade. He has traded a lot of the pieces down, but let's not forget something. Not only has white had the long-term sustained advantage of the opposite colored bishop threatening specific targets in the black position, in the long run, the attacking player benefits from having the opposite colored bishops. Right now, white's king is completely safe. Black is never in a million years attacking this king. Everything is well insulated. Unless you line up a queen and bishop battery on g2, but like that's never happening. The other guy actually is very close to creating an attack. First of all, he has just broken through with the 2-on-1. Second of all, he's always threatening this pawn, right? So it's not pleasant at all. Bishop to e4, Hikaru looking to conjure up some sort of counterplay, but Alireza right there with queen b4, and then he just, in a moment's notice, just goes queen b1, and it's just going to be an endgame where white has an extra pawn, and it's over here, and it's just gonna queen. You also defend the promotion square with the bishop. This is a nightmare to defend. Bishop to e5, queen f5, we trade, rook d1, bishop d6, and just the pawn gets all the way down, and Alireza Firouzja winning this game like a robot. Rook e6 is the threat to remove the defender. King f7, nothing stops it. Rook d6, you sack the rook. It's so important. White has a getaway square, by the way, so that there's no back rank problems. And Alireza just absolutely outplays Hikaru. Like, just from start to finish, never let up. Hikaru never got back into this game. You almost never see this in games of Hikaru, particularly when he plays openings where he has the preparation. Like, you know, Alireza spotted the best way to put the pressure, but then to also sustain it over 40 moves against a guy like Hikaru is just insanely impressive. And there's 2 more games. I was actually going to make this video after this game. After he beat Anand and went 4-0, I was like, all right, it's time to make a video. He just beat Anand. He just beat Hikaru. He just beat Fabi. He just beat Gukesh. I got to make the video. And then Alireza was like, no, Levy, my friend. Sit. I'll do it. I'll one more. An encore. 5 for 5. He might even go 6 out of 6. I have no idea, right? I don't know. But I'm going to play a tournament soon, so I need some content before I go play. Here's the game against Anand. This game was utter nonsense. Like all the other games, the Dragon was exciting. The Hikaru game was flawless. The Gukesh game, there was that moment in the opening, but other than that, it was sustained pressure. This game was chaos. So this was a Vienna. And here Alireza forgot what he learned in my chess league course on the Vienna Gambit. You're supposed to play f4 in this position. Now, f4 wins about 60 to 65% of the time at, under 2,000 levels, which is everybody watching this. But here Alireza played a3. Now, a3 is a move. It is a move. Nowadays, you can basically play a3 or a6 against, like, anything. The computer doesn't love it, but it doesn't affect the position all that much. And the point is a little bit of psychological warfare. Just trying to get a fresh original position where you can just sort of play and not worry about openings. Anand just develops his pieces like he's supposed to. d4 is played, and now something really absurd happens. So here, the best plan for white is to play knight to b3, targeting the bishop, and then, centralize, defending the pawn, and castle. Now, what you shouldn't do is go here. Because after rook to e8, it is impossible for white to easily defend this pawn. It's just not possible. You can defend it with the pawn, but that's ugly. And then black will strike at the center with d5. You can defend it with the bishop, but that's ugly, and your king is in the middle. You can defend it with the queen, but that's ugly because your pieces are all in the middle of the board. Alireza deliberately went into this, I'm pretty sure, hit the bishop, and went bishop g5. And his whole idea was to win my pawn, Vichy has to play h6, here, and g5. He's going to have to weaken his king to win my pawn, and that's exactly what Vichy did, because, why not? And he took it. And he went like this, and white castled. And Alireza was just a pawn down in the opening. 6 pawns, and black has 7. 6-7, if you will. And just develop. Knight to c6. Now, why on earth did Firouzja do this? Well, in the long run, it's good to have pawns walking outside of your opponent's king, right? I mean, you have good attacking chances. Black is also a little passive in the sense that, the structure is a bit subdued. It's a bit, further back. It's not like out here, d5, c6. The rook can be a target for white's pieces, and that is exactly what Alireza did. He used the rook as a target and then went to target this bishop, and I think basically he was saying, I'm going to try to win this bishop. Now, Vichy here could have went bishop to d4, which is what he did. And then, this was the idea. And, he could have tried to get rid of this bishop, but Alireza here had a very straightforward plan. His plan was, when I batter this bishop around this way, now I will go and I will attack the black king. So Alireza, this whole time, he prepared for this in some way. He was like, I'm going to lose a pawn. This is the pawn that I have lost. That is the pawn that black has. But now I will create an attack against black's king. I will play f4 in the future if I can. I'll play knight e3, queen d3, queen f3, get my knight in over here. And, somehow, all of it came true. Like Anand here needed maybe to play bishop e6. He needed to wait a little bit longer before he struck. Alireza just had a clear plan of queen f3, rook d1, and somehow, if you let the engine actually think about the position, it's not convinced in the slightest the extra pawn for black matters. Which is, how did Alireza know this? How did he have an instinctive feel that now he's just fine? He's fine. Like, he's totally back in the game. Not only is he totally back in the game, it's the same thing as in the Hikaru game. Remember in the Hikaru game, he had the dark squared bishop targeting the pawn? Yeah, like, he's just targeting the queen side. He's just about to ravage this side of the board. And these pawns are too far, and the bishop just hangs out, puts pressure. We have dc3, bc3, and Alireza Firouzja is now better with the white pieces after being just down a pawn for seemingly nothing in the opening. Like, how did this happen? Rook e7, and watch this. The queen has to leave the position, right? It's hanging. No, he sacks the queen. He gives away the queen and wins 2 rooks and correctly evaluates that in this endgame, with pressure on this pawn and this pawn promoting and the 2 rooks versus the queen, he correctly evaluates this is his best chance to win this game. That the 2 rooks in this position are better than the queen. Why? When are 2 rooks better than a queen? 2 rooks are better than a queen in positions where your pieces coordinate better than the opponents. And what does coordinate mean? It means to attack targets or to attack pieces. It means in a position where you have no weaknesses. Here, white doesn't have any weaknesses. Like the pawn structure, the king, the bishops are just going to zoom around the board. There's no easy way for this queen to impose anything. If these pawns were gone, then yes, you would have a weak king. But watch as Anand's queen just completely is unable to do anything to these pieces. We get into an endgame like this where, again, opposite colored bishops benefit the attacking player. We clearly see a theme. White's king is totally safe. The black king is not safe. The king is not safe. It's in the middle of the white bishop. It's in the middle of the rooks. And Alireza's pieces, you couldn't take the bishop, back rank checkmate. Alireza's pieces here just run circles around the king. The king ends up being cut off on the last rank of the board, which is a terrible position in the endgame, because ultimately you are always under the threat of a mate. If your king was out in the open, it would actually almost be safer. But really, it's these pawns. It's these pawns that are the problem. 20 moves ago, Firouzja dared his opponent to play h6, g5 and win his pawn, and that's what he did. And 20 moves later in an endgame, they are the reason the king is not safe. a5, rook, h3, make sure he's not getting back rank mated. He's going to need to get his second rook into the game at some point. There it is. And in this position, Anand resigned. Firouzja has only 6 seconds on the clock, but he made it past move 40, so he will never lose on time. Anand resigned because he's just lost. His queen has no targets still. The bishop and the queen don't coordinate well because they need to defend the king. The king has too much open space around him, so he needs constant protection, and you're going to lose this pawn. Anand could have defended this position for like 40 more moves, but he would have lost. He could have probably defended this position for like 70 more moves, maybe. But he would have lost. This is a totally losing position because, again, if you try to defend yourself, I give a check, I win this pawn, I put my bishop back, and then, like, you have nothing. I will just torture you for the rest of the game, and I will win. Like, the way he won this game was so creative. I had to analyze, like, did he know something I didn't? Like, how did he know that this sacrifice was worth it? You know what the computer wanted Anand to play in this position? It was actually, literally, it was contemplating taking the bishop. Just losing the rook. Because here, black can play f5, and white struggles to stop f4. White would then need to move his h-pawn, and now the computer says black is better here because the bishop is walled out and Alireza doesn't get into the game. I mean, if Anand found this over the board, like, that would be just incredible, really. I would have absolutely nothing to say. But, yeah, Firouzja makes things so difficult for his opponent, and here we go. Here's another game, and here is a funny one. Alireza Firouzja plays into the Najdorf Sicilian. If you know anything about chess over the last few years, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, MVL, played 2 openings with black. He played the Najdorf Sicilian, and he played the Grunfeld defense. So it's what he played for like years. Now he's had to change things up a little bit more because everybody has a lot of opening preparation. So I did find it a little bit funny that, the Frenchman takes a little bit of, a little bit of inspiration from the playbook. Now here, we have bishop e2, normal move. Black plays e6. He goes for the Scheveningen, however the hell you say that word, Scheveningen. Bishop e3, queen c7, bishop e7, just very, solid structure. Black very solid. White plays knight b3, f4. This is now kind of like a hedgehog-y structure. Hedgehog, e6, d6, b6, a6, like everything on the 6th rank, everything defended. And I think these types of positions were played a lot back in the day in like the 80s and the 90s. White would, put the 2 knights, put the 2 bishops, put the pawns. It looks very aggressive, looks very nice. There's a lot of ideas for white to play g4 and g5 and stuff like that. And yeah, that's what MVL is going to do. And I think Kasparov has defended positions like this all the time, also in the 80s and the 90s. Knight to a5. So we offer a trade of knights. We try to damage our own structure, but we get the compensation of the open files. It's actually not a good idea for white to take this knight. G5 pushes the knight back, and now the knight drops back to d2 to avoid being traded, right? To kind of make it so that, why did Alireza put this knight here in the first place? b5. Alireza keeps going down the right side of the board. Pawn takes, pawn take. Let me be very clear. When you win 4 games against 4 of the best players in the world, MVL is not going to stand in your way. You need Magnus Carlsen, okay? If you're a top player, if you're a top 10 player, and in a tournament you beat 4 other top 10 players in a row, you now feel you can beat all of them. Like the confidence you gain from winning 4 games the way Alireza has, like nobody can touch me, right? And they know that. They sense it too. They're like, no matter what this dude does to the board, he's going to win. So now you kind of like, do you play aggressively to fight him? Like, do you play his style of game? b4, knight b5, look at this. Like Alireza immediately getting into a combative position, knight f3. MVL loves these games. Knight c5 is a mistake. This is actually straight up a mistake. There's a tactic here with knight d6. You can also play bishop c5 straight away, but e5 is bad. You actually needed to simplify with bishop c5 and queen d8, and apparently the endgame is better. But at critical moments of this event, Alireza has been sharper than his opponents. They have missed their chances, and when you miss a chance against Alireza, he is going to win the shuffling battle against you. Queen c7, knight back to a7, looking for knight b5 or maybe even bishop b5, and there it is, and you just cannot target this side of the board with white. Like, you're not going to defend it. You're not going to be able to defend the side of the board. And these pawns, which all went forward to attack, whatever happened to them? Why have they not moved? At some point, the move f6 is going to happen, by the way, and it's going to be a really big problem if you don't lose on the right side of the board. Knight d3, queen b1. He wins the pawn back. He is totally winning the battle for the queen side. Rook c8, knight d4. And he's just better. Alireza's just better, and still these pawns haven't moved. In the long run, they will be huge weaknesses. In comes the knight. He still launches forward, but just bishop c5, and there's no attack here. The pawns are the only ones leading the attack. The rest of the pieces are trying to fight a battle in the center. They're trying to fight a battle on the right side of the board. Queen to a1. Now bishop b4, building up the forces. Knight to f4 check. Bishop back to d7, a nice little counter move. Now we have a scramble. Alireza 13 seconds on the clock. The most dangerous position he has had. The closest he has been to losing. But knight d3, he's making every move with like 10 seconds on the clock, hops into e4, wins a pawn, and the attack burns out. MVL pushed all his pawns, and that was it. Queen f6, bishop back to f8. There is nothing here. He sacks a knight, but bishop c6, cold shower, pins the knight to the king. This is game over. e6 looks like there is one last trap, but you can just take this thing. Queen h8, king f7, there are no more checks. Maxime resigns, and he went straight for the jugular of Alireza Firouzja, who stood toe-to-toe, was unafraid, fought back very valiantly, was defensive at the right time, was offensive at the right time. He's winning games in a variety of different ways, and he has 5 points and a performance rating of 3,526. Now, of course, There's going to be people who watch this who know a lot about chess and the way these formulas work. And when people have a perfect score in a tournament, the performance is obviously skewed. And it's weird because the way it works is that, you got to like maximize. The formula is a little bit wonky. Obviously, he's not playing exactly like a 3,500, but it's still incredible. And if he wins a few more games, he would have tied, Fabiano Caruana Singfield Cup in 2014. I made a video about that, called it the greatest winning streak of all time, where he beat Magnus, he beat Hikaru, he beat, so many incredible players. Yeah, that would be sick. So it's a shame Firouzja's not in the candidates because he's definitely a top 5 player in the world. His success has not followed in classical chess, and he's not playing in things like the World Cup, but what can you do? That's the world that we live in. Clearly, Firouzja is a top 5 player. It's not debatable whatsoever. Runner-up in the Speed Chess Championship, runner-up in the Esports World Cup, but we don't see him play in other elite classical events, and that's a shame. That's all I have for you today. Get out of here.